And welcome into Hockey Sense, everybody. Brought to you by First Community. Great to have you with us as always. Hey, Blues fans are feeling good today. I mean, what a week. You get back-to-back games against the same team, a team that you happen to be chasing in the playoffs, and then you walk away with 4 points. I mean, last night was one of the more, I think uplifting environments that we felt all season at the Enterprise Center. I mean, the crowd was into it. You had physical play, you had fights, you had goals. I mean, great goaltending, and you kind of had everything. That was great to see. I got to give a shout out to Braden Shen, though. Even on Tuesday night, I thought he had one of his better games of the year on Tuesday. I thought he was engaged in the game, which typically isn't even an issue for Braden Shen, but these are the type of games when you put this much emphasis on these games. You expect your leaders and not just your best players, you want those guys to deliver as well, but you expect your leaders to truly step up and drive it for your team, and lead the way. And I thought Braden Shen did that, man, these last couple of games. Obviously getting the 2 goals on Thursday, that makes a big difference. And he certainly had an impact in the game offensively yesterday. I thought that entire line did. I've said this a couple of times now. I love watching this Holloway and Kyrou play together. They've established great chemistry with one another. They play with really, really good speed. They're creative offensively. They create chances out of nothing. And they have given the Blues, I mean, and truly rounded out this top 6. When you look at Robert Thomas and Buchnevich and whoever is playing on the other side with them. Last night it was Jake Neighbors. You've seen Brandon Saad there. I like Neighbors there. I don't mind Saad there too when he's going, But sometimes you got to have a feel as a head coach who's going and who's not. They've made some changes. Texier in, Texier out, Bolduc out, Bolduc in, Saad in, Saad out, Walker in. I mean, so you've had a little bit of a rotation. And I thought Nathan Walker came to play yesterday. I mean, that's what he can do. Listen, Nathan Walker is not going to wow you with his puck play. He's not out there dangling guys, and you really don't count on him to produce offense. Although, if you remember when Nathan Walker first came to the Blues, this guy was scoring a bunch of goals, and he got hot for a couple of weeks. I mean, he took the city by storm. The fans absolutely love this guy. So to see him fight at the end of the game and then the reaction afterwards, man, I know his teammates loved it, but the fans certainly did too. That was a lot of fun to watch. We've got Tyler Tucker coming onto this show, man. I wanted to give Tucker a little bit of recognition for how well he's played since he's come up here. And it's not just the goal that he scored against Anaheim or the, play that he made that led to the game-winning goal against Calgary the other night on Radek Fox's game winner. Fox, by the way, had a hell of a game last night, too. I'd re-sign Radek Fox. I really would. I'd call him right now and say, hey, would you extend for 1 year? At his age, I don't think you're looking to go much longer than that. Maybe you'd be comfortable doing a 2-year deal. And it might require a 2-year deal to get him signed now. But the way that he's playing, I would lock him up. I just think he's a good player. Now, you get a player like that with his experience, who knows how to play in close games, who's played in big games in the past. You can see which players are comfortable playing in big games, in meaningful games, when they matter, and when they're physical. And it truly is a grinded out game. And last night was a grind game. There's no doubt about it. And a guy like Radek Fox, he just looks comfortable in that environment. He's played in big games in the past. So if you want to win board battles, and if a lot of the game is played along the wall and getting pucks out and getting pucks in is crucial in terms of what the outcome of the game is going to be, those are the players you like to have on your team. Plus, he's a great guy. And you can pretty much count on him to stay healthy and be in the lineup every single night. He suffered that serious skate laceration. That's a fluke play. But if you look at him historically throughout the course of his career, he doesn't miss much time. Fluke injuries you can't control, but he's not a guy that takes himself out of the lineup because of injury and whatnot. He's he's great to be around. I love talking to Radek Faksa. He thinks he's a terrible interview, by the way. I always tell him that he's not. I think he's a great interview, fun to talk to. But it's funny, he doesn't think he is. So the big question mark, I think, becomes moving forward. I mean, can you have Oscar Sundqvist and Radek Faksa both, on your roster at the same time moving forward? Is that what you want? I mean, neither player plays with a ton of pace. You probably want to increase your speed up the middle moving forward beyond this year. You're going to bring these young kids in. I would imagine Dvorsky's going to play center. Dvorsky, that's probably not his strength, his skating. I think his skating has gotten better from what people say, and obviously having a chance to watch him in the World Junior Tournament, but he is not a explosive player. His strength is more so in the details and his puck play and his playmaking ability, his scoring ability, his hockey sense. He's got a heavy stick. So not the fastest guy, but you can overcome not being the fastest guy with having other parts in your game like I'm talking about. So I'm looking forward to when Dvorsky gets there. People are wondering when it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen this year. The longer the Blues stay in the thick of it, it probably reduces the chances of Dvorsky coming up. But I would imagine they're going to give him an opportunity. If the Blues make the playoffs, he'll get up here and finish the year here. Doesn't mean he'll get in the lineup, but he'll be around. Same thing with Jimmy Snuggerud whenever he signs, when his season ends. You'll see Snuggerud up here, and that's typically the way you get these guys to sign anyway. Long gone are the days where they just go and sign these ATOs, these amateur tryouts, which we saw the Blues sign a number of players to ATOs. I think Colton Parayko was one of them. And they come out of college and they go straight to the American League. Now these guys are like, nope, you want me to sign? I got to come play directly in the show. And it takes a little bit of the leverage away from the team. But in the case of Snuggerud, I don't think you really mind, because there's a good chance that he's going to be on the team next year too. We'll see. We got a long ways to go before we get there. But I'm interested to start getting some of these guys here just like everybody else, So those are the first two to probably get here, although Stenberg's already in the American League, so we'll see how his progression looks the rest of the season and where things go with him and how far off he is from becoming a NHL player. Exciting times, really, when you look at it from the Blues' perspective. This is going to be an interesting trip because they go to Utah, winnable game. They got to win that one. And we'll see what happens in Vegas. The Blues have traditionally played very well in Vegas. So you may say, well, they may come back with a split. Who knows, man? The Blues could find a way to win that game. There's no question they can do that. So a lot of good things happening, Get another power play goal last night. I don't love splitting up the units, for the record. That's just my opinion. I'm not trying to go against what Steve Ott and Jim Montgomery are doing. But I just like loading up with one unit and then having a second unit. And listen, you can find your balance, and as long as it's working, you can tell me that I'm wrong, But you want to keep your best players engaged in the game. And I think this is new territory for guys like Thomas and Buchnevich, where sometimes they don't start on the power play. Sometimes they're coming in as the second unit because you've got the Holloway, Kyrou, Shen group with Falk up top. You've got them and Neighbors. I mean, that's a good unit right there. And, the way they were moving the puck around yesterday was pretty impressive. The other unit with Thomas and Buchnevich, I think it's a little more of a challenge for Thomas with that group. You saw him feed a seam pass to Parayko yesterday. And I don't know if that's Parayko's strength to receive those passes and get it out. He's not really a one-time guy. But, listen, as long as you're winning, man, as Chief used to always say, it's all about team. So it's about the team. But I would imagine at some point, especially if things go dry on the power play, they'll get back to having Kyrou and Thomas and Neighbors and Buchnevich and all these guys together on the same unit. So we'll see how long that lasts. So am I nitpicking? Am I being petty? That's the only thing. It's the only issue I have right now. Parayko's playing like he honestly is playing at the Norris Trophy level. Now, hear me out here, because Parayko will probably never be considered for the Norris Trophy because he doesn't put up the gaudy offensive numbers. And very few will be able to compete with what Makar and Hughes, and you see what Zach Werenski's doing this season. And Werenski's put himself into that upper echelon of defensemen because he's having an incredible offensive year. We've seen that from Adam Fox in the past, who's won a Norris Trophy. But in terms of the ability to defend and to impact the game all over the ice in all situations, specifically PK and obviously 5-on-5 with Parayko, no defenseman in the league is having a bigger impact than he is right now. I mean, the way he's just shutting it down, just killing plays, is just real impressive. We always know that he's got that skating ability and he's that one-man breakout. But my biggest criticism of Parayko in the past was that he could get you from point A to point B with his legs. But once he crossed the offensive blue line, there just wasn't a whole lot of creativity. The play would die, and it didn't really result into, high-end scoring chances in the past. I feel like this year, that's one area that he's really improved on, is that when he does enter the zone with the puck after carrying the puck 80 feet up the ice or 100 feet up the ice, he's got that ability to make the next play. And whether that means get a shot on goal, whether it means, make a play off the pass, whatever, he's shown the ability to do that at a high level. Parayko, you look at the way that he scored, and last night was a traditional Parayko goal. I mean, just shoot it through the goaltender. And it was close to a 100-mile-per-hour shot, no traffic in front of Wolf, the goaltender from Calgary. That's a Colton Parayko goal. But the last couple of goals he had scored before that, you see him scoring goals closer to the net. He's being way more aggressive in the offensive end. He's all over the place. He's going goal line to goal line in the same shift over and over and over again. First one up the ice, first one back. He's a special, special player. So I truly believe Colton Parayko is playing at a Norris Trophy level, but he won't get Norris Trophy consideration because everyone loves the defenseman who, finished with 90 to 100 points. And all of a sudden, I used to talk to Pronger about that all the time. Pronger played at a Norris Trophy level every year. And he's losing out on the Norris Trophy to guys like Mike Green and some of these other guys who were just putting up a bunch of points, who were scoring a bunch of goals. You score a bunch of goals, all of a sudden now you're the Norris Trophy winner. But I truly believe that we have to look at the Norris Trophy for, you got to value the defensive side of it, probably even more so than the offense, in my opinion. You play defense. I mean, you play against the other team's best players game in and game out, and you win that matchup more often than not. It's impressive. And Parayko's back on the plus side. He was +1 going into last night's game. So where's he at after last night's game? I mean, if he can get his plus minus, up to, obviously being in that +15, +20 range or north of that, then that would certainly help his case. But that's going to be difficult to do. He's +3 now. He was +3 in the last couple of games. So, but that would help, just kind of like pass the eye test for some of these guys that don't appreciate Colton Parayko and they don't watch him play game in and game out. I don't see too many people complaining now about him being on the Hockey Canada roster. So if he goes to that Four Nations and has a great tournament, man, he's going to get a lot of attention. All right, let's step aside because Tyler Tucker's going to join me, and I look forward to this conversation. I think you will certainly enjoy it. There's no doubt about that. He's a great guy, and he's helping the team. And he's coming up big when it matters the most. First Community. Hey, the team at First Community wants to wish you a happy new year, let you know that they're excited to start the year with even more convenient locations. I talk about that new location in O'Fallon, so check that out. Check out the new locations in O'Fallon because they've got some, there's convenient locations everywhere. The Little Blues program, so much happening. Sign your son or daughter up today. You get a certain number of ice times. Very reasonable cost. The best part is your son or daughter gets to try out the game of hockey and see if they like it before you decide if you want to sign them up and play on a team and commit thousands of dollars to it. This is the best way to do it. You sign them up, and it comes with all the equipment from helmet to skates, man. You even get a stick too. But the fact that it comes with the skates, a lot of parents are like, well, I don't know what they need. I go to the hockey shop and I'm overwhelmed. I don't know. I got to buy them everything. Well, now you don't have to worry about it. It comes in one box. Get great instruction too. Great people over there at First Community. We appreciate the support they give us here in Hockey Sense. Dirt Cheap Fun Fun, your one-stop party shop. Download that app today. Find the nearest location for you. Some of these locations have drive-throughs, curbside pickup. You don't even have to get out of your car. They've got all these great deals on their app. You got to download that app because that's where all the great specials and the deals are. Beer, wine, booze. They've got that walk-in beer cooler. Don't sleep on the party supplies. They've got great party supplies. So if you've got Valentine's Day parties or anything else that you're having soon, birthday parties, pick it all up at Dirt Cheap Fun Fun, your one-stop party shop, baby. Four Hands Brewing Company, taking St. Louis to the next level, one craft beer at a time. I mean, these guys are incredible. Kevin Lamb, flat out getting it done. Got to give a shout out to Kevin again, man. He just rang the bell. He had gotten sick. He overcame cancer, man. It's a beautiful thing to see him healthy and thriving once again, and everything he's doing to impact the city of St. Louis through Four Hands Brewing Company. It's incredible. Check out that new location in Kirkwood. They've got one coming at the airport. Of course, they've got the flagship location, 1220 South 8th Street. You've got the beautiful location out there in Chesterfield. Take the whole family to that one. But if you want to have date night, go to the Kirkwood one. It's incredible. You can take the kids to that one too. Awesome location there in Kirkwood. But all of them have all the beautiful options there from Four Hands, but bring a little bit of a different vibe, which is always great to see. Get those 1220 spirits too, the vodkas, the gins, all the spirits from Four Hands Brewing Company. Lordo's Diamonds. Get that special someone in your life, something special. Are you popping the question on Valentine's Day? No better time to do it than Valentine's Day, the holiday of love. Get to Lordo's Diamonds today. Let Mike and Jimmy take care of you. 314-432-8008. 314-432-8008. Right there in the heart of Ladue next to Truffles. Can't miss it. They've been around for 70 years. There's a reason for that. Arco Construction, taking St. Louis hockey to the next level. One ice rink at a time. Jeff Cook, John Comlos, man, they just get it done. So passionate about the game. Giving back to the city of St. Louis through hockey, supporting hockey. Not many people support hockey nearly as much as Arco Construction. That's why I love having people like Arco and First Community, all these businesses around St. Louis that truly invest into the game of hockey. We love that. Arco certainly does. They built that beautiful facility out there at Centene Community Ice Center. They built the 2-sheet facility in Chesterfield, the Maryville University Ice Rink. They built the Shark Tank. I love the Shark Tank. We don't get to go out there very often, but when we do, I enjoy going out there. I like the community feel, the community rinks. But they even built fun here in St. Louis through Putt Shack and Topgolf and some of those other great businesses too. So Arco Construction, proud sponsor of what we do here on Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. We got to take a break. We'll come back with Tyler Tucker. Jamal Mayers is going to join me later in the show. We got a full packed show for you, live from Half Coast Studios. Aiden's in the house. I'm Andy Strickland. This is Hockey Sense. Thanks for hanging out. We do it every single Friday. All right, let's bring in Tyler Tucker. Listen, man, back-to-back games against the same team. That was different, but I will say the energy in the rink last night at the Enterprise Center was a lot of fun. People were into it. It was physical. You had goals that were scored, and that was different maybe than the Tuesday game. Was it fun to play in those games?
Yeah, I think obviously both of those games, we came out strong. Obviously, we scored. I think like Perry scored in the first 5 minutes or the first minute in the Tuesday game, and then Schenner I think was early in the game as well. So obviously starting like that helps. I think they play a huge part in how we start and how we continue along throughout the night. And I think they're doing a heck of a job throughout, or since I've been here anyway, cheering us on and getting us going.
Are those games like the best kind of games for Tyler Tucker to play in? I mean, where you just got to fight basically for every inch of ice. They play hard. You guys play hard. It's more of a grind game.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, kind of gets you going early. They're hard forechecking teams, so you're gonna get bumped early, and I think for me, obviously, I think for some guys, it's the same thing. You either take a hit or give a hit and get yourself into the game early. So makes it easier that way.
All right, so the physical stuff, that's what got the attention of the Blues anyway. I know they drafted you in the seventh round. By the way, you played more games than any other player drafted in the seventh round back in 2018, Tyler Tucker. So that's something to be proud of, right? I mean, it's
Really,
like,
I
oh,
didn't
yeah.
know that.
So, but I remember you, Traverse City, your first year, you're fighting guys and whatnot, and pretty much made a name for yourself even coming out of that tournament.
Mhm.
But and we've seen you do it in the NHL too. But when you see like a guy like Nathan Walker get into it, and does that get your juices flowing? Like, are you all of a sudden looking for one? Although there wasn't much time left on the clock, and like, did you want one last night, or is that not your focus?
Um, I wouldn't say I was out there looking for one. I'm always open to it. But definitely seeing other guys do it brings a smile to a lot of guys' faces, especially when Walks does it. Obviously, he's full of energy all the time. He's like a little pit bull, so good to see guys doing it. Um, you know, Obviously it's a tough thing to do. A lot of respect for him doing it at whatever 5'9", but does a great job and gets the crowd going for sure.
Was there a lot of like chirping going on the ice? A lot of talking. Like when you have these back to back games, are people running their mouth a little bit during the games?
Yeah, I think it can get there. Obviously, it doesn't happen too often. Um, I'm kind of used to it because we do it a lot in the minors. Whether it's like a Friday, Sunday, or something like that, where we always have kind of weekends like that where we'll play the same team. But last night I feel like it wasn't too bad. Obviously, he kind of got that same guy kind of got wrapped up with Sonny earlier in the game, but um, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how it started. I was trying to get off for a line change, and then next thing you know, those two are going. But I think throughout the game, like obviously with those kind of back to backs, there is definitely more than what there would be on a normal night for sure.
Does this call up feel different than the previous ones for you?
Um, yeah, no. I think I'm just trying to continue to do what I can do. Obviously want to stay in the lineup here and keep doing things the right way. There's so many guys that around me in that decor that have helped me tremendously throughout this time being around. Anyway, there's a lot of guys that have played a lot of hockey, and so obviously just trying to learn and keep doing what I'm doing.
All right, so when you come up in the past and it's like a different coach, now you come up and it's Jim Montgomery, like, do things still stay the same? I mean, at the end of the day, it's hockey, but are there tweaks in terms of how the Blues play under Monty versus maybe previous coaches?
Yeah, obviously, I think there's always going to be changes. Sometimes they're big changes, obviously. Sometimes they're small, and I think it takes some time for teams. Not not necessarily takes time, but they all have every coach has something they want to implement that may be different, whether it's forecheck or D zone or something. There's always going to be some kind of little bit of change. But no, I think for the most part, like for me anyway, I feel like it's all pretty similar. So no, I feel pretty comfortable playing under him.
All right, what's the best advice that Ryan Suter has given you? He's talking to you a lot, man. We showed it on camera last night during the game a couple times on TV where you guys are constantly like talking on the bench. I think he likes to talk anyway, right? No matter
Yeah,
who his
yeah,
partner is, he's constantly talking to his partner. Do you like that?
yeah. I do honestly. Yeah, he's always talking whether it's about a play that just happened or um he recognizes that I'm getting a little antsy or something. Like he's always talking whether it's should have did this or should have done that. He's just always trying to help out, and I think that goes a long way. He's always trying to make guys feel comfortable. I think for me, it's been huge. He makes it pretty easy out there.
You've been coming to training camp since 2018. Do you see like a gradual, like what do you see from Colton Parayko? Like from the first time you saw him in terms of now, I mean, 5, 6 years later, his evolution as a player.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, special human right there. He for me, it's always been he's always had my attention. Obviously, he's kind of what you want to be. He's played a long time now. He he can do it all. Big, powerful skater. Long stick, offensively and defensively, really good. So I think just fun to watch. Obviously, you're you're like really good NHL pro hockey player. I think that's just him in a nutshell. He makes. I'm sure I haven't played too many. I think I played one or two games with him last year, but he makes it a lot easier out there for everyone. I think big rangy guy. Just someone you enjoy watching skate up and down the ice every day.
The one man breakout. I want to
The
see
one
you do
man
that,
breakout.
Tyler. You need to start just carrying the mail and go up and down the ice.
I gotta start watching him then.
I want to start seeing you fly. Dude, you put up good numbers in junior. Like, I did something on you during the game last night, and I don't even think I knew. I can't tell you how many times I probably looked at like your hockey DB or whatever just over the years.
Mhm.
But like you had you're a point per game guy. Like your last year of junior, I think you had 17 goals, and the year before that, I think you had whatever. You put up a bunch of points, and you were close to being a point per game guy the previous year too. So it wasn't a fluke. You got
Mhm.
some offense in you. It's like it's always interesting how much changes, right? When you get to the NHL, you got to identify what your role is and try to be as good as you can be in your specific role.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously, I was fortunate enough to play on some good teams in junior. And then kind of throw the power play in there, and junior's a whole different ball game. But I was definitely fortunate enough to play with really good players. And just opportunity. I think you know, especially when you're young, your confidence is sky high when you're rolling on the power play, getting points. So I think that goes a long way. But yeah, just the transition to pro, I think obviously not every guy is going to be a number one power play guy. And, I think I found that out early in my career. So just trying to stay maybe more whole rounded. Now that I'm in, or yeah, now that I'm in pro, but just really work on your defensive game. I think that was my biggest thing.
What was your relationship with Dale Howardchuk like? Were you guys pretty tight?
Yeah. I'm like friends with his son still. So I lived with his son in their house in Barrie when I was 16 years old. Just right when I got drafted, I moved in with them, and then yeah, no, obviously, yeah, he's done a lot for me. Whole family. So he's just a special person. Obviously, I was fortunate enough to have him as a coach for almost 3 years. So just a very, very special person and a great family.
So that was your billet family, the Howardchucks?
I lived with them for like 2 months in the summer, like June, July, or
Uh,
July, August, one year. Just before my first year of junior, and then I moved into a different billet. But yeah, I played with his son for uh, yeah, 3 years, I think it would be, and we still hang out in the summer, golf and stuff. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. He's a
yeah,
legend. No question
yeah.
about that. How much work are you putting in the summer? How often are you on the ice? Because you got to be able to make plays with the puck if you want to play D in the NHL, and you're showing that ability to move the puck, to get the puck up ice. You get the puck on the offensive end. You obviously have some confidence and you know what to do with it right now. So how much work have you put in to accomplish that?
Yeah, I think obviously you're working out every day. And as the summer goes on, you're on the ice more and more. Obviously, it's nice to after the season ends, get a little reset, maybe a few weeks or whatever. I try not to take too much time off. I feel like that's benefited me in the past couple of years. So I think I think just like earlier in the year, you're maybe once or twice a week, and then as the summer keeps going on, you're ramping up pretty quick. So it could be 3 or 4 times a week.
Are you taking boxing lessons too? Are you doing stuff like that? Give you some
I
interesting off ice training you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, no, I used to do a little bit. I haven't done any in the past couple of years, but I think it would be interesting to try and do some of that.
So how far did your teams go in the OHL? You've got some good
So
players you play with, man. You play with Nick Suzuki, and that Forrester's not bad either. With the
yeah,
Flyers, man, I like watching him play.
yeah,
It's some other NHLers that you played with.
yeah. My first year we weren't very good. I think we finished dead last actually, and then we ended up getting 3 first overall picks. So we got Suzuki, Sveshnikov, and another guy, Victor Hadfield. He's playing on the coast right now, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, we ended up getting three first overall picks, and then we made some big trades at the next deadline. We played with a couple of guys that had over 100 points and 50 goals, and I think we ended up losing in the second round or something like that. Yeah, second or third round. I think it was second round. Uh, to Kingston, who had a boatload of guys too. Bellardi, Max Jones, Sean Day. They had a pretty special team. But and then the following year we actually missed playoffs, I believe. And then my last year I was traded to Flint when we had a really good team. And then obviously COVID, so we end up going to playoffs. But yeah, really played on some really good teams and then some not so great teams, but it's always trending in the right direction.
That's Svechnikov. I like watching him play. He's just a big body. Was he just doing
Yeah.
crazy stuff in practice all the
Oh
time?
yeah, he is a beast. He's one of the best Russians I've ever played with. Though he's a great guy. You know, he's always first one at the rink, just getting better. And anything he could do to get better, he was doing it. So he was special to see when I was, we were the same age, so 18 or whatever it was. He was a beast.
Yeah, those Svechnikov brothers too, man. They came from nothing, Tyler, man. Like their background, where they came from. Like I know they appreciate where they are now, man.
Yeah,
In the NHL.
yeah, he's a special player.
He's getting paid too, big time. Suzuki was obviously a big time player. Was that Sean Day? Wasn't he? Didn't he get like exceptional status or something?
Yeah, yeah, he did to Mississauga. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So how do you look at this road trip coming up now? I mean, you guys just got to keep it rolling, right? I mean, because sometimes you get so high and then you don't want to fall off that cliff. You got to keep that momentum.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we got to go into Utah and get a couple of big points here, and then I think we got Vegas after that. So I think obviously 2 huge games. These two last games against Calgary felt like playoff games. So we can just keep riding that and bring it into Utah and get a couple points there, and just got to keep chugging along here.
So where are you from originally, though? Like, did you like if I would have told you 10 years ago, like you be in the NHL, like did you expect to be an NHL player? Were you on that path as a minor hockey player?
No, I actually have a pretty funny story. I'm from a town of like 900,000 people, so there's not a lot going on there. The only thing we have really is a hockey rink. So I played just like single A hockey growing up all the way until Bantam, I think, and then I played 1 year AAA, and then I ended up moving to Toronto for 1 year, and then the rest is kind of history. But I just played like local sign up. You pay a couple $100 and you sign up, and we played. We didn't even have a league or anything. We would practice like 2 or 3 times a week, and then we'd play tournaments. So we do like 6 tournaments a year, and that was kind of my everyday, yearly thing to do. It was play tournaments, and then as I got older, through like Pee Wee or I don't know, yeah, I guess they don't call it that anymore. But as I kind of got older, we started playing spring hockey tournaments. I have a brother that's the same age as me, and we would travel for spring hockey. But yeah, no, it's definitely a unique situation. And then just fortunate enough to play some spring hockey and kind of get noticed that way.
Yeah. If you have a brother the same age, typically that means it's your twin brother, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Where's he at now? Is he still playing?
Yeah, he's at Northern Michigan right now.
Okay, cool. I think he came to prospect camp a few years back, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Okay. Is he like you? Are you guys similar in terms of
He's a forward.
okay.
He's got a little bit more skill than me, definitely. He no, he plays a good hard game, but I wouldn't say. Well, he plays college hockey, so there's not really any fighting. But he gets around and He's a chippy player.
It gets physical though. You got
Oh yeah.
little guys running around trying to like kill everybody in college
Yeah,
games.
for sure. They all get the cages on. They can do whatever they want.
Oh yeah, I know. Hey, who'd you play for in Toronto when you moved to Toronto? Which club?
I played for the Toronto Titans, so just team in the GTHL.
Okay. And so
Yeah.
you basically it was like, hey, listen, if you're gonna do this, like you got the ability, but you need to come to Toronto. Like you're gonna have to like start taking it serious and play at a higher level.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I did 1 year in Thunder Bay, so I actually moved to Thunder Bay. My house is like 3 hours from Thunder Bay. So we moved, me and my brother moved, lived with a billet family. And then the following year, we went down to Toronto and went to a school and, did our school there. And then we were playing AAA there, I guess. But yeah, it was definitely a big eye opener for me. Just a small town kid coming there and living in the city was kind of crazy. Obviously, my brother played a huge role in that. I didn't really want to go, but he was like, "Yeah, well, why don't we just try it out and see how it is?" I don't think either of us expected to be where we are right now, so it's pretty cool to see.
So did you bill it with a family even when you were going down to play midget hockey or whatever you were playing at the time?
Yeah, so we went to a private school, like it was like a sports school kind of thing, and we actually lived with like there was about I think there was 8 of us in this house, and there was me and my brother, and then there's a couple lacrosse guys that play like professional lacrosse, and then there was a couple hockey players that played on the prep hockey team at the school, and like yeah, it was a pretty cool, unique um situation we had because we actually lived with the vice principal. He was like our billet kind of guy. And then but everyone had like different schedules. So the lacrosse guys, have practice or whatever. Me and my brother always had practices that night with the AAA team. So and then the prep hockey team would have practices like during the day. So like you would see these guys in and out of the house, and yeah, there's actually a lot of them that are still playing, and whether whatever their sports may be. And then there's a couple of golfers in there too. Like it was pretty crazy house.
Well,
Yeah.
everyone's got a story, man. I love it. I love hearing everyone's stories in terms of how they got here. Hey, last thing for you. Are you aware when like Jim Montgomery is pumping your tires and like I mean he's had some nice things to say about you yesterday. Like basically I don't have the quote in front of me, but said, hey, you're making it known that you want to be here. And he brought up the Plager name and Barrett Jackman and these guys that obviously the fan base truly appreciates and they love your style of play. Like, do you hear those comments? Does anybody bring it to your attention or no?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you kind of see it in the media, but um, obviously, try not to focus on that kind of stuff. But yeah, obviously, it's good to hear. Just got to keep doing what I've been doing, and you know, staying in the lineup and keep chipping away here.
All right, I lied. One more thing. Training camp. You came into training camp. You knew it was a crowded house, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, what was your expectation? Did you think you were going to make the team? And when you found out you were going down to Springfield, how were you able to regroup mentally and get back on track and just make sure you're playing hockey and prepare yourself and put yourself in a situation to get back up here?
Yeah, I think obviously mentally coming into camp, how many guys are on the team or how many guys they have signed or whatever it may be. Um, but I came in with a lot of confidence. Mentally, I was prepared to make the team. Um, I think that's the only way you can go about it. Obviously, coming up short, but I think you have to come in with that mindset that you are going to make the team. So when I got the news or whatever that I was burned down in Springfield, I was upset or whatever. But there's only so much you can do. You can't control everything. So, I took it with a grain of salt and went down there, worked hard. And I think the people around me down there, they have a really good staff and whatnot that made it pretty easy. I think for maybe a day or two while I was driving down there, I was a little upset. But once I got there, it was almost like it was nice to be in a familiar place. Obviously somewhere I felt comfortable before. I try to get down there and get to work as soon as possible.
Yeah. Well, you're doing a great job, man. That's a long drive too,
Yeah, it is.
especially when you're in a bad mood.
Yeah.
When you have a place down there, do you still have to pay rent and everything for your place?
Yeah. I have a place down there, still paying rent. I still got a bunch of stuff there. We were on the road when I got called up, so I'm just living out of a suitcase here. Yeah.
Can't you get like Dvorsky or somebody to move in there and like take on your rent for a few months or what?
Well, most of the guys have spots, but I'm sure I could find someone. Definitely.
How good is that kid?
He's good. He can shoot the puck. Obviously, I think even just from game one in the American League to whatever it was, when I left, it was probably like game 18 or something like that. He's doing really good things. Obviously, you see his poise with the puck on the power play and stuff, and how he shoots the puck and how he makes plays. I think defensively, he's come a long way as well. Obviously, you could see it if you watched the game from game 1 to game 20. So I think he's just keep trending in the right direction.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, man. Thanks for doing this. Have a good road trip and keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep it up.
Will do. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah.
Appreciate him. All right. Jamal Mayers here. Brought to you by Blue Note Roofing. Look for that yellow truck. It's the color of Jamal's hoodie.
This is like more like mustard.
And it's got the blue notes all over it. Gutter, siding, roofing, windows. Best roofer. Huge hockey fan. I'll talk pucks with you. David Novak, the best in the business. Blue Note Roofing, 314-920-5713. Call him today, 314-920-5713 for Blue Note Roofing. Welcome into the show.
Good to be here.
A lot of great games last night. I feel like every team in the league was playing last night. There were so many games and trying to keep up after the Blues game had ended, trying to catch up with some of these late games. I mean, the game of the night obviously was Colorado and Edmonton. There was the most anticipation for that game. And I mean, Colorado just looks like they're going to steamroll. They're up 3-0 in the first period. What happens when you go up 3-0 early in a game like that against a good team? I mean, is it human nature to take your foot off the gas? Is it human nature for the other team who's also an elite team to know that they can get back into it? Getting that goal, I think they scored late in the first period with like maybe 40 seconds left, and it was kind of a soft goal. That can be a backbreaker, can it?
It can. It was Arvidsson's goal. It was kind of a squeaker, goes under the pad, and you think if you can get out of the period there, up 3-0, it changes the entire complexion of the game. But they scored, like you said, with like 42 seconds left in the period. That changed things. And I think that you knew the push was coming. You could tell the anticipation. I don't know if you saw the shot of them leaving after the first period. The coaching staff for Colorado are quite animated with the players leaving the ice. And sometimes when you do that, I'm not saying that's the reason. Sometimes when you do that, you put that, players feel that energy. They feel that nervousness, if you will, from the coaches. And I never like that as a player. I'm like, do not give us that energy that you're nervous. We're up 3-1.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's the case, but I did notice that small instance when they were leaving the bench. But you know what? You're playing. You knew the push was coming. You knew it was coming. And what's most impressive for me is that, as much as we all celebrate how great Edmonton is offensively, they are top heavy. They are a defensive team. Do not be mistaken. They are really good defensive.
Which you wouldn't have said before, right? Because even that Darnell Nurse is having a good season,
yes,
right?
they're 7th in the league in goals against. Last year they were 9th. I mean, they're playing a different brand of hockey.
Skinner doesn't get enough credit, probably.
Exactly. And they're missing some very key players that were in their lineup offensively, depth-wise, starting with Evander Kane. And to think, for me, it makes it even more impressive what Draisaitl's been able to do with, no offense, bit parts, with Arvidsson on one wing, who now has 6 goals scored in the game. And I believe his other winger has 5. So he's doing it virtually on his own.
And on the power play.
And yeah, a lot of it having to do with power play. It's just been really, really impressive, their ability to find ways to win, and just the crust that they've created from losing in the final in Game 7.
Yeah.
They started out slow to start the season, but now you're seeing that the team that understands how to build towards something.
They did start off slow. They took a lot of heat early on for, allowing guys like Broberg and Holloway to get away, who have both been really good players. But, I think if you would have told Jared Bednar prior to the game that you're going to walk out after the first 20 with a 3-1 lead, he would certainly take that. But, that was probably preventable. McKinnon was on the ice. And as great as he is offensively, and as much as he can change the game with his speed and his offensive ability and scoring ability, where is he at, in your opinion, defensively? Because some people have been a little bit critical of his play from a defensive standpoint. And he was on the ice. I'd have to go back and actually look at the actual play to see his involvement in it. But where do you see him from a defensive standpoint? Or do you not even worry about it because he's so good offensively? You just take whatever he gives you defensively, you just accept because he changes the game at the other end.
I think you have to accept it. I think that that's part of, you're not going to, at what cost?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If he becomes 20%, improves his plus minus, doesn't get scored on as much, does that take away from his offensive ability?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's something that you necessarily mess with at this point in his career.
No, I'm with you.
Different if it's a 22, 23, 24-year-old player.
Yeah, Evan Bouchard got the game winner. I think he leads the NHL in shots above 90 miles per hour. Like, he can really shoot the puck, And he struggled early on this season, too. People were critical of Evan Bouchard, but he comes through, obviously, great offensive defenseman. Detroit wins again. They go to Florida this time. I want to say, and I didn't look this up, but I feel like they've won 8 of 9.
I think you're right.
Because they had won 7 straight, and they lost the previous game, I thought. Todd McClellan.
Yeah.
Is this a situation of what we see all over the board, where a new coach comes on board, and then all of a sudden they improve their play? Or is he having a drastic impact into what we're seeing here?
Not surprised in the least. One of the best tactical, most prepared coaches I ever played for. There is and will be by now a clear and defined way that he wants to play.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 zones will feel connected to the players in that regard. What he doesn't get enough credit for is how he changed, in my opinion, the power play entries when it started with Jumbo and what he was doing creatively on offensive zone entries on the power play, that I'm sure a guy like Kane is just loving what it's allowed him to be able to do, particularly on the power play. And I think that we probably should spend more time. There should be more energy. There should be more thought that talks about his thought process and how he tactically goes about entries. I think it's brilliant. There's a way that he wants the entry to happen, 2-on-1ing at the blue line, the kickbacks, this assortment of kickbacks. The first 2 times down the ice, we're doing this. The third time down the ice, we're doing this. That if the pressure's below, you do this. If the pressure's above on the entry, you do this. It's all a design on his entries. And I think I know for a fact other teams have stolen from him, and I'd be really interested if I was on one of those panels, on Hockey Night or whatever it is, and ESPN. That's the conversation you're having with Todd, because I think it needs to be out there that he is, in my opinion, the one that changed and was so creative on those power play entries, and you're seeing it in Detroit and all parts of the game. I will eventually reach out to Kaner, and because we keep in touch, and just pick his brain. I told him right away, you're going to love Todd.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's going to make sure that you guys are structurally sound, and you're going to love it, and it's going to free him up to do more.
And he's scoring goals every game now.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. It's just, he helps everybody. Like, it helped me as a player at 35.
Yeah,
it helped me as a player.
I'd like to see him get over the hump, Todd. You know what I mean? Like, he's had some great teams in San Jose, and I will say this. He takes some heat. I think he was there when McDavid came into the league in Edmonton, and so he had the young team. He was trying to build that team to eventually become a contending team. And I think he left. I think it was Jay Woodcroft who took over. Yes. He left him in a great spot.
Yes,
and who then obviously left the current coach Knobloch obviously in a better spot, although they were struggling at the time when he took over. But then they They turned it around last year, went to the Stanley Cup final, Game 7. So they look like they're ready to have another deep run. Vancouver doesn't. They lose 5-1 last night to LA. LA is a damn good team. They get no credit. Is that the one team in the league that you go to where you just get zero recognition, zero attention whatsoever? No one even pays attention to you?
Well, it's also they play late at night. No one really pays attention, but what's really impressive to me is like great teams. It's not an accident why they're great teams. It's down the middle. Look who they've got. Kopitar, Byfield, who they've been grooming.
Playing great. You talk about defensive play.
Oh, they've been grooming him. What a great mentor he has in Kopitar, how to play the right way. And then behind him is Danault. Danault is number 2 in a lot of teams.
Yeah.
So you've got the three-headed monster. There's only I can count 6 teams that have that type of depth offensively as in the center position, Winnipeg being the second best in that regard. That's how you build teams. And they have young defensemen that have really stepped up to the plate.
Doing it without Doughty, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about what Clark has done.
Brent Clark's a hell of a player, yeah.
Spence. Those are 2 guys that don't jump off the page, but if you watch the LA Kings, those are really good young defensemen that have been able to really make fans, and no offense to Doughty, you haven't missed him.
Yeah, but he's going to come back, and he's obviously going to help him. And Brent Clark was a big-time prospect coming into the NHL, and he's been as good, if not better than advertised. So that's great to see. There was another game. Toronto wins last night. Toronto, they win in overtime against New Jersey. Nylander with the game winner on a nice pass from Mitch Marner. They were taking some heat, like losing I think 3 games in a row. I just love the reaction. They're booing them off the ice. I thought it doesn't matter how they do in the regular season, that it's all about the playoffs. I mean, they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to miss Tavares. They're saying he's out for at least a week or whatever. Gets hurt in practice, in a practice drill. It looked like his leg got caught underneath him with Tanev. Like he hyperextended a knee or tore a groin or something. In a compete drill like that they were doing. It looked like it may have been a power play drill, but it was a different type of power play drill. They had the net more in the corner, and they were working in a small area situation. But he got tangled up with Tanev. Regardless, he's been playing some good hockey, so they're going to miss him. But how do you get overworked or worked up about Toronto at this stage of the season when in reality it doesn't even matter? They're going to be judged on how they do come playoff time, and they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, you're dealing with Toronto.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got to sell, they don't even sell newspapers anymore, but they've got to, there's 14, 16, 25 media people after practice analyzing in the morning skate, who's skating, not skating, who he's with, who's not with them. He hasn't had a shot in 2 games. Like, it gets a little bit ridiculous. I think that Chief will have this team dialed in at the right time, playing the right way. It's a long season. The game meant a little bit more because, their former coach coming back and, wanting to, to play well and find a way to get it done without, Tavares, and who's played extremely well. I think there's a lack of depth for them in the middle. They've been with when Matthews was out, they're trying to put guys that aren't really suited to, Holmberg and Kampfer moving up in the lineup, playing up in the second line. They're not second line guys. Tried Max Domi there. He could fill a hole for a certain amount of time, but that's not a permanent solution.
You like him on the wing, or you like him as a center?
I like him in the 3-hole.
Okay.
On the wing or center, I think they're a better team when he's not a top 6.
Yeah, I agree.
If he understands that and can provide some grit and some chip in offensively from that position, that's where he's best served.
Some people have been criticizing he needs to be in the top 6.
No.
He's never been a big point producer.
He's not. He'll fit in. He'll fill in. The problem is he teases you. So he'll get up there with Matthews on the wing and he'll produce, but it's not sustainable.
No.
He'll do it for 6 games, 8 games, and that's okay. You need guys like that can do it for 8 to 12 games that you can move up and down.
And that may even be a stretch. 8 to 12. It may be 3 or 5, right?
He's just not that guy. And I think that hopefully he understands that, but he's certainly valuable when he plays with some pace and he plays with intention and he's being hard on people. And, I think that on a winning team, he's in the third line.
Yeah. What do you think this does for the Blues now? They win these back-to-back games against Calgary, and there's a lot of attention with Calgary coming into town based on where they were in the standings. Very rare situation where you get a back-to-back at home.
Strange.
against a team that you're neck and neck with in the standings. So you take the 4 points. So you can't underestimate how big these wins are. Now you have to continue it. But what does this do, you think, for the Blues now moving forward?
It gives them hope of controlling their own destiny, and that's ultimately what you want as an athlete. I mean, they control their opportunity to make the playoffs, and I think that this month is absolutely critical. They've got to hop over 2 teams.
Mhm.
It's not the fact that they're only a point behind Calgary and tied with Vancouver. Calgary's got 2 games at hand, so and so does Vancouver. So you've got to win your games. That's the focus. It's easy for us in the media to look at it and say, well, if they win 4 out of the next 8, and they 4 out of the next 6, they play Utah that's chasing them. As you can't do that.
Yeah.
They've got to get on a run. I believe they haven't won 3 games in a row this year. Is that true?
The Blues have not won 3 games in a row.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
You need to win.
And they've had a chance. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, right?
Okay, that's not good.
No.
If you want to make the playoffs, you got to go on runs where you win 5 in a row, 6 in a row. Then maybe you lose 1, lose 2. Then you win 4 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got to go on a few runs. You have to have a run. So from now to the end of the year, in my opinion, to make the playoffs, they have to have at least 3 runs of 5 wins in a row or more. And I'd be interested. Let's mark this date down. They played 46 games. Can they go on 3 runs, which means 5 wins or more, and 3 times? They're going to have to do that to make the playoffs.
And it's not crazy to say that, because if you look at where they are from a point total standpoint, and in order for them to get to that 96, 98 points, wherever they're going to have to be to get into the playoffs, they're going to have to be 12 games over 500 or whatever the rest of the way.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. And I think that, this is not a bad position to be in, but it's a difficult position for management. What I mean by that is
make decisions.
You're going to have to make decisions. And you're a team on the cusp. And you have to look at, the problem is management has to look at it from 2 lenses. One lens is what's best for the development of our players and our organization, and where are we? And then you have also the owner saying, I would like 4 home games in the playoffs.
Yeah, but see, I think this case, though, Jamal, I think you're right. But I think in this case, ownership and management's on the same page, because they've missed the playoffs the last 2 years. If they would have made the playoffs for 6 straight, and maybe you look at it differently and you say, okay, well, if we get in, how good are we? You know what I mean? Like, are we going to get bounced in the first round? So is it worth it to move an asset, get a prospect or a draft pick back, knowing that we probably aren't good enough to go deep into the playoffs? Versus this year, it's like we need to be as strong as we possibly can in an effort to get to the playoffs. We can't miss the playoffs for 3 consecutive seasons. Even if they lose in the first round, they can look at it as a positive in terms of the season, because they got back into the playoffs. And now, obviously, you can build from there with these young guys coming. So I agree with you. I mean, they're going to have to make some decisions. Like in the past, hey, with their 1.3 points out, it was probably a little easier to say, hey, we're going to move on from Paul Stastny. We're going to move on from Ryan O'Reilly, because they had all this built-up, sustained success. Now it's different, because they've got to get into the playoffs. They know that. And if they don't get in, they're going to be really disappointed,
Well, then you're going to have to, I always say this, the players are going to determine that by their play. Like, if they don't play well leading up and they're not in a position, the decision is made for management. If they're
if they're out of it, then yeah, 100%.
Right. So they've got to do their part. They've got to find a way, again, to go on a couple runs here. Great 2 games against a team that plays hard, that plays the right way, and you're really starting to see the imprint that Monty can have on a group and create something that's sustainable.
They've got a top 6 now.
Yeah.
With the way Holloway and Kyrou have established their chemistry together, Schen's played 2 of his best games of the season, these last 2 games. And I'm not just saying just because he had the 2 goals last night, but he was really engaged in the games and just impacted the game all over the ice. Trying to find that third piece to play with Thomas and Buchnevich. They've kind of had a little bit of a revolving door. I like Neighbors up there. I think it's probably the best spot for him, and he's the best option to play with Thomas and Buchnevich. What do you think of the power play units right now? Because they're splitting those up. It's and they're having like success because the power play's doing well right now, Jamal. But like, it's just strange when you go on the power play and you're not seeing Robert Thomas or Buchnevich to start the power play. And do you lose those guys a little bit when they're not getting that type of candy when they're used to it? Or do you just say, hey, we're putting the team first? Because that other unit with Kyrou and Holloway and Shen and Neighbors and Falk, I mean, they've got it going on right now. But I'm looking and I'm watching and I'm seeing Robert Thomas. His options are a little bit different in terms of who he's on the ice with in the power play. He's got Sundqvist. He's got Parayko on the other side that he's feeding seam passes to, who's not really a one-time guy. So it's a little bit different. But I just like loading up. That's just the way I look at it personally, you know?
I don't like it. Your best player, in theory, is not on your best unit. I don't like it.
Mhm.
And so I think this is the question I would ask. Are you saying that Thomas replacing Shen on the number one unit disrupts the flow of that unit?
Well, I think they would say it doesn't make the other unit as strong.
Who cares? You don't need two equal units.
And you're preaching to the choir
I think
here.
you need your best player on the number one unit.
I'm with
And when
you.
I look at the pairings, no offense to Sundqvist and Buchnevich, and you've got Holloway, I don't know who you're going to take away, but where's 18? Why isn't he on that unit?
Mhm.
Like, he has every right to be like, what is going on?
And it's not just some power plays where he wasn't on the ice to start the power play, but when they do start the power play, because you have this other unit who's stacked and having success and they're rolling right now, then you're coming off the ice 40 seconds into the power play after a whistle. You know what I'm saying? They're switching it up. So, and listen, vice versa too, but I guess it depends on when the penalty is called, who's on the ice at the time. And if Thomas's line is on the ice when the power play or the penalty is called, like they're probably coming off and the Kyrie unit's coming on. So
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't think it's the long-term solution is the way I'll say it.
But it is working here in the short term because their power play is producing on a relatively consistent basis. I think 6 for their last 11 or something like
I'd
that.
be interested to do this let's say that continues for the next 5 games.
Mhm.
Let's look at Thomas's production 5-on-5 and as a whole
Mhm.
relative to what he was doing previously.
Yeah.
And that to me would tell you, like, is it worth it if it's taking away from his production?
Just to getting those extra touches and getting that extra confidence.
It's confidence. It's swag. It's
Yeah.
like
I know.
into the flow of the game. It's feeling like he's got it
And
going.
he hasn't looked quite as dangerous 5-on-5 the last guy. I know talking to him prior to yesterday's game, he was a little bit frustrated with his previous game or two. It was the first time all year, or at least first time since he came back from injury, that he had gone back-to-back games without a point.
Right.
So he got an assist last night. Maybe he had 2, but I know he had at least 1.
I just think you gotta.
Yeah. Don't overthink it, right?
He's your player. He's your best player.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But maybe in the short term, this is best. All right, well, we'll see what this looks like moving forward. I might say something that you find crazy, but
Usually,
the way Colton Parayko is playing right now, like, he would never get any Norris Trophy consideration because he doesn't put up the offense that Makar puts up. Hughes, Werenski this year, who's having an incredible year. But you could argue that his impact on the game is just as significant. And now he is starting to, score some goals and stuff like that. He's up to 10 goals on the season and whatnot. But, and listen, his plus minus, he's +3 now. Obviously, if he was +25 or something like that, then he'd have the eye-popping numbers that would maybe get him more of that type of talk. And I'm not saying he's outperforming those guys. But from a defensive standpoint and the way that he's playing right now, I mean, he's been the best player on the ice on a lot of nights, Jamal. He's playing some really good hockey.
I find it so funny. Like, I don't know what it was, like 3 or 4 years ago, this fascination with like condemning him for what he isn't or wasn't.
Yeah.
He's not physical enough for being 6. Jeez, what are we doing here?
Pretty intense, man. He's locked in.
It doesn't matter.
I know. I don't even know. I'm with you.
That's not his game.
No.
Like, okay, he's not physical. The game isn't physical anymore. He's hard on the puck area. He skates unbelievable. He's like a one-person breakout from net front. He can bomb the puck. He's playing free because he trusts his partner. Like, it's amazing to me that people were like questioning him, questioning if he was that elite player. I'm like,
Did you not watch the Stanley Cup playoffs in 2019?
And where are you going to go get a guy like that?
I had Mike Van Ryn tell me, and I'll share it now. It was a private conversation we were talking, but he's like, everyone's like, oh, Jay Bouwmeester just elevated the play of Colton Parayko. He's like, no, it was Parayko that elevated the play of Bouwmeester. Bouwmeester was getting crushed, hammered by everybody. He couldn't get out of his own way. Pucks were hitting his shin pads, skates going in. Like, he was at the scene of the crime. Like, he was having a real rough go. When they put those two together, what happened? Bouwmeester's game took off, and obviously Parayko's did too. But you talk about the lack of physicality. Like, I got a front row seat, man, where I'm placed during the games. I'm right on the glass. He is physical in the corners. He is physical in front of the net in terms of his ability to box out and, own that territory on the ice. You know what I mean? He's not putting people through the glass. He's not open ice hits. He's not dropping the gloves. He's not fighting. He's not like flipping out and going crazy after the whistle. But he comes out of the corner with the puck 90% of the time, if not more, when it's a 50-50 battle in the corner in front of the net. And that's where you want your muscle as a defenseman and your physicality. So I think there's different types of physicality is my point.
Yeah, I just think the game's changed. I agree with you 1,000%. I think sometimes there's this narrative that he isn't talking about what he isn't and not celebrating how good he is at what he does.
The Norris may be crazy, but I just remember.
Yeah, I think you're a little over
No, but you know what I'm saying. And in terms of impact in the game, I remember Mike Green winning the Norris Trophy.
Well, put it this way.
Because he scored a bunch of goals. And like, Pronger had an unbelievable year that year too. Like, it's like, he's not a better defenseman than.
Well, put it this way.
But offense is what grabs the attention. And Makar and Quinn Hughes, these guys are unreal, and they can play inside their own end too.
The best way to say it for me is like, when a team is preparing to play the Blues, they circle his name.
Yeah.
Like, that's the ultimate compliment.
Werenski, by the way, he's like redefining the position a little bit. I know Makar and Hughes, they get a lot of attention because their skating ability, and they look different when they have the puck and the way they just go around the world in the offensive zone. Werenski is below the goal line in the offensive zone. In the defensive zone, he's at the blue line. Like, he's like the definition of a rover. You know what I mean? Like, and he's had some good seasons in the past, but this is a career year for him. And you just wonder how much impact Dean Evison has had on his play. I love watching Zach Werenski play right now. He's going to get a lot of attention, I think, come Four Nation time when people are really focused on what he brings to the table.
Well, I thought, and it's also a cool story. I'm sure you saw it when Billy G happened to be at dinner and to let him know that he made the team. That was pretty cool, unique story. But, I think Billy G got a free dinner out of it.
Yeah. Is that what it was?
It was pretty good.
I remember he saw him.
He saw him, went up to him and said, "Hey, how's it going?" And Werenski's wife said, "Well, we're doing a lot better if you tell him he's on Team USA. We'll buy you dinner." And he said, "Okay, you're buying me dinner."
Well, I think he and Billy G, whoever he was eating with, he said to the guy, "Should we go tell him now?"
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's a great story.
Anything else catch your eye from the Blues, though?
No, just their commitment to being comfortable playing low-scoring games, low-event games. I think that is a sign of maturity, particularly when, you head down through the tough months of the season into the crunch time. A team's comfort level playing those games is going to be critical. You got to trust your goaltending. You've got to trust your system and knowing that you're going to break the team by the end of it. And that takes a tremendous amount of trust in the system and understanding that the process works.
Yeah, I'm not saying Parayko I can feel the comments coming in right now to my Twitter, but I'm not saying he should win the Norris. But he is fourth among defensemen in goal scoring now too. Like, from a defensive standpoint, killing plays, playing D.
I think he's
shutting down the opposing team on a nightly basis. He's as good as you're going to find right now.
I think he's top 6 in affecting the game as a defenseman, both offensively and defensively.
You just got to be a top 3 to be.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's not top 6. Still amazing. If you told
my God.
you're going to get that version of Colton, you'd be like, yeah, we'll take that.
You'll take it. What'd you think of Hofer playing in the second game?
Surprised. Because to me, I liked it
Mhm.
from an optics standpoint
Yeah.
in hindsight, because it said, I like the way we're playing.
Yeah.
It's not about Binner. But going in as a player, I got to be honest, I probably would have wanted us to play Binner again.
Yeah.
But I think it shows tremendous confidence in Hofer and tremendous confidence in the way the team was playing, had played the previous game.
And Nathan Walker, he was not happy he didn't play in the previous game, and he came out a little bit angry yesterday. And
Good.
Sometimes that's how you get the best out of guys.
You gotta let him know, and that's what I think he does extremely well, is that he plays with a passion and emotion where when you don't have him in, he lets you know, hey, wait a minute, I think we missed that. You can't, in my opinion, at bottom six, you can't let a game go by and not affect the game.
No, and Matthew Joseph, he's had two of his better games since coming over. I thought he got a little bit loose, so trying to figure out what he was, like, just play to your role, and I think he's done that the last couple of games, and they've got something good with he and Toropchenko and Fox. I love this Fox, man. He played a great game last night, too. He's just a big body who you can tell is comfortable playing in those type of games that you're talking about. Like, he's played in big games throughout the course of his career, all those years in Dallas. He's comfortable playing in those types of situations. So
and he can check. You can play that line can play against other teams.
I'd bring him back I'd try to re-sign him.
Yes, not many that fourth line. You're comfortable playing against anybody.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, they become your third line in the third period.
Yes. And it was a really smart, think back to the game on Tuesday. I don't know if you remember, Kyrou had a tough game
He did.
on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I kept feeling like Monty was trying to give them another chance offensively. And right before, I don't know if you remember this, right before Fox scored, the Kyrou's line was out there, but they only had like a 20-second shift. And he didn't like him. He didn't like their shift. And I love it. You should ask him about it, because he took him off the ice quick.
Yeah.
And remember thinking, that's interesting. He's recognized he doesn't like their game. He's giving them chance after chance after chance. There's like, I don't know how much time was left, maybe 8 minutes left in the third, puts the fourth line out there, and then they scored.
Yeah.
But you should ask Monty about that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about too. That's just having a feel.
Good feel.
That's how you define, like, when you say a coach can run a bench.
Yeah, I think there's two types of coaches typically, right? There's a tactical coach and there's game management coach.
Game management,
right?
Yeah.
And game management, I think if you're a tactical coach, you have to have a game management coach on your staff. You have to recognize what you're weak at. I think Monty is the rare person that has both.
Yeah.
Not the tactical element, certainly, but also a tremendous sense.
And Saad and Texier, they had a tough night too, and that's why they didn't play much. Both were 9-8 minutes total in the game. They didn't play Thursday, the following game. It's just, I think he's got all these different pieces, and I think Monty does a good job of recognizing what's the best option based on who we're playing that night.
Right. And you know what? I think that his ability to communicate makes it palpable for the players, right? You're not going to lose them because the communication. So, and it's okay to make them pissed off at times, because you need more.
Saad's not used to that. I don't know,
I'm not sure if he's ever had to do that.
No.
I'm not sure he's ever been out of the lineup.
Why do you think he's struggling?
He has not been, in my opinion, direct enough, not getting inside enough. All the stuff that he's gotten, in my opinion, has been on the outside. He's most effective, no offense to him. I love that he's changed his stick 8 years ago to Hosa's stick, but he scores when he gets to the net.
One more question, because he was on before you here on this edition of Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. Your thoughts on Tyler Tucker right now?
Oh, didn't know he had that much of a game. Yes, he plays hard, tremendous instincts, makes a great first pass. I think confidence has been the key for him. I think that when he first came, he thought more, I need to show my physicality.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize is how smart he is, how sound he is defensively, how much of a good passer he is. And he's now playing with confidence. And what confidence does is it allows you to trust your instincts. And what we're seeing, in my opinion, is that he has good instincts.
and he's playing on his offside.
Yeah. Not easy.
And I talked to him about that, like, you know, and having Ryan Suter as his partner has been unbelievable for him. I mean, they're talking nonstop, Jamal. But he says he doesn't, because he plays on his strong side down in the American League. But most of the time he's been up here in the NHL, he's played on his offside, so he has some experience with it. He says the issue is not in the defensive zone, it's not in the offensive zone, it's more in the neutral zone. Because if you catch the pass on your backhand, on your forehand, the puck's behind you. And so maybe you're not seeing your blind side, whatever, what's right in front of you, whatever. If you catch the pass in front of you, you're on your backhand a little bit. So it's more of those neutral zone D to D passes. He said that's probably the biggest challenge. But you saw him receive the pass on the game-winning goal by Fox. Had no hesitation. He throws the puck on net. And, you know, looking at his path to get here, you know, he played in the seventh, or he was drafted in the 7th round. He's played more games than any other 7th round pick in his draft class. So that's a good pick, obviously. And his last year, a junior, I know it's junior, OHL, and whatever, he was more than a point per game guy. He had 17 goals, you know, in his last year, a junior. And the year before that, he had 50-plus points. So I think he's got the ability that you're talking about for whatever's happened. We're starting to see that a little bit. He had 4 goals in the American League in 19 games this year, 10 points in 19 games. Like, he's not just a one-dimensional space eater who's looking to fight every once in a while and finish checks and be physical. I think he can play the game too.
Yeah, and I think that he's paired with the right guy. He's understands the game, and he's got an emotional component that's immensely valuable in today's game. I think that what's really good for him is that he's become an everyday guy.
Yeah.
And that allows the organization to make other decisions going forward. So he's, you know, as an organization, you hope this happens,
Yeah.
right? Like, you hope that he takes that step.
Yeah. And
Because he has taken that step, and now you're looking forward. Letty comes back. Crew, what are we going to, like, he makes you make decisions based off of those guys.
I don't know what they'll do, to be honest with you.
They're going with the younger player who shows greater potential.
Mm-hmm.
It's cheaper. That's what they do. Like, it's not.
Well, I'm talking about this year, though. I mean, the rest of this, you know, if Letty says he's going to play this year, like, he's going to come back. He's getting closer and closer. I'm just curious to see what that lineup looks like when he's ready to go. Do they rush him back in? Do they not rush him back in?
No, they'll let him come back in, and then his play will dictate. And then I don't think it. I think it affects Suter more than it affects Tucker at this point.
Yeah, and Perunovich probably is the odd man out. You know, at some point here, you know, he's not.
Absolutely.
He's not playing a whole lot right now. All right. Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, man. Tell us about it.
Well, you think about it. They've got 43 locations. Dobbs is offering winter tire deals on the best tire brands, including up to $275 savings on new Goodyear tires, plus their other money saver deals on new sets of Cooper, Continental, and BF Goodrich. Go to Dobbs.com now for more details about their all valuable winter driving deals, not only at quality tires, but expert auto service. Go to Dobbs.com for more.
And where you know where my wife's my mother-in-law, I don't know, she won't be watching, but like kind of like a surprise party this weekend at
the new one?
Yeah, I think the new one.
Oh yeah, it's nice. It's you're thinking of Bartolina's Twin Oaks.
Maybe, yeah.
Oh yeah. I had my 50th birthday celebration a few months ago there for dinner with some friends. You were invited, but you must have missed the email.
I must not have gotten the I don't think I got the invite.
But no, it's 5 restaurants: Bartolino's South, Bartolino's Osteria, Chris's Pancake and Dining, Chris's at the Docket. Bartolino's Twin Oaks, the one you're talking about, forge many lasting relationships with their customers. Their family motto: cook good food, serve plenty, 50-plus years in business. Only 2 places to dine: at home or at one of Bartolino's family of restaurants.
All right. Good to see you, Jamal. All right. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Tyler Tucker, Jamal Mayers, man. We had a great show. I got to give a shout out, though, to my boy, Jakob Dobis, man, the goaltender from Montreal, who just took out, Florida, Vegas, Washington, and Dallas. He makes 32 saves last night in a what was the score yesterday? Last night's game. I got to double check here. Over the Dallas Stars. Montreal has just got it going on, and they started getting it going on when Jakob Dobis joined the NHL roster. 3-1 winners over the Dallas Stars last night. He allows 1 goal, stops 32 of 33. This guy came to St. Louis, and he played for the AAA Blues, and I remember him scoring a goal. I was telling Jordan Binnington the other day, I'm like, yeah, this guy scored a goal in midget hockey. You play midget AAA. He just went over the top and scored. I've never seen a goalie score at that level before. It's almost unheard of. but he comes over from the Czech Republic. Lubos Barteko, remember that name? He moved back here after his playing career was over, played a long time, a number of Olympics for Slovakia, played for the Blues. Early in his career was part of that great Slovakian line with Pavel Dimitra and Jochen Hecht and all these guys. Or not Jochen Hecht. He's German, I think. But Ladislav Nagy, Pavel Dimitra, Michael Handzus, all these guys. They're all these Slovaks. And Barteko was here, played a bunch of international tournaments with those great Slovakian teams with Hossa and Gaborik and Dimitra and Chara. Handzus, like I mentioned. Well, he told me one day, say, I got this goalie who I'm bringing over from the Czech Republic, Czechia. And sure enough, he comes over. His younger brother comes over too. Younger brother played well. As a midget player, played defense. And this guy goes on to the USHL. Strong play in the USHL. Gets a full ride to Ohio State, where he's the goaltender of the year for Ohio State. Puts up good numbers in the American League, and now here he is in the NHL doing his thing. I mean, Jakub Dobis, man. One of the best games I ever saw him play. And it's interesting because it was a high school game. I was calling the game on FanDuel Sports Network, which was at the time Bally Sports or Fox Sports, whatever we were at the time. He played a championship game for DeSmet High School. And they lost the game. It went into overtime. I think they played against SLU. He was absolutely incredible. DeSmet had no business even getting to overtime. He must have made 60 saves in that game. But I love Dobis, man. He came to Blues prospect camp years ago. I thought he was the best goaltender by far in the camp. And then a few months later, and that was the year the Blues won the Cup. I think that was 2019. The Blues needed goaltenders. They had this kid come to development camp. A few months later, he ends up getting drafted by the Montreal Canadiens, I think in the 5th round. Big shout out to Jakub Dobis, man. Doing his thing. Some great games in the NHL last night. Toronto wins in overtime. Nylander gets the game winner in overtime on a stretch pass from Mitch Marner. It was a nice pass from Marner. How about Washington? They win 1-0 over Ottawa. Ottawa turns the puck over. They had a rush. All three guys below the dots in the offensive end. They get beat. Washington comes back down the other way. And Ovechkin streaking down the left side as a right-hand shot, just snaps it past the Ottawa goaltender for the 1-0 victory. He's now 21 shy of Gretzky. Vancouver loses again. So they've opened the door for St. Louis. They lose 5-1. Woo! To LA. LA is a good team. The game of the night, in terms of the anticipation that everyone was looking forward to, was Edmonton and Colorado. Edmonton wins on the road. All they do is keep winning. Edmonton is like 8-2, something like that in their last 10. And they are separating themselves once again as a power coming out of the Pacific Division. They're tied with Vegas now with 61 points. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this edition of Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. All our great sponsors: Four Hands Brewing Company, Dirt Cheap Fun Fun, your one-stop party shop. Blue Note Roofing. Nobody does it better than Blue Note Roofing. Call David Novak today, 314-920-5713. Gutters, soffit, fascia, siding, roofing. Look for that big yellow truck with the blue notes all over it. David Novak, man, he'll talk pucks with you all day long. Very smart, intelligent hockey fan. We're going to get him into studio. We'll talk some pucks with David coming up either next week or the week after. I'm looking forward to that. Always look forward to having David in studio. But he is the absolute best. David Novak brought us our segment with Jamal Mayers, and a proud sponsor of what we do here on Hockey Sense. Again, 314-920-5713. Call David Novak today. Tell him we sent you. But obviously, First Community, they are the absolute best. Get that Christmas Club account. You spend all that money on Christmas time. Now you can put money away every month, and then as you get closer to Christmas next year, you've got like a nice little stash put away that you can use for your Christmas shopping. So whether it's for your family or friends or just fun, you get that sticker shock at some point. You get nervous about overspending. The idea of paying off holiday debt can be stressful. So open a Christmas Club account at First Community. Automatically put money in the account every month, and by November, you have a nice little stash. Ask First Community about that, firstcommunity.com. All right, we appreciate your support, as always, here on Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community, Blue Note Roofing, Four Hands Brewing Company, Dirt Cheap Fun Fun, your one-stop party shop, everybody. Arco Construction, Paul's Market. Call Paul's Market today. Get those steaks. Get that Wagyu. We'll be on the grill before you know it. Jamal Mayers is looking forward to grilling as well, man. He loves to grill. Get outside. The weather's going to get warmer, although it's going to get cold again. But I'm just saying, spring is around the corner. And hopefully we got playoff hockey to talk about here in St. Louis. Some great NHL hockey last night, including the Blues winning back-to-back games over Calgary. I'm Andy Strickland, reminding you to keep your head up and your stick on the ice. For Aiden and everybody here at Half Coast Studios, we'll do it again next Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody.